I'm Chris Sangster, and you're watching an excerpt from Scenes and Songs, the show that dissects outstanding movie and music pairings. The song in this scene is Cat People, Putting Out Fire by David Bowie and Giorgio Moroder. It was written for the 1982 Paul Schrader film Cat People, which is a remake of a 1942 film of the same name. Paul Schrader's Cat People is this weird, semi-erotic horror film about werecats. That is, people who turn into cats when sexually aroused. I know it's weird. It was the 80s. They were trying stuff. But for this strange concept film, they needed an equally eerie and engaging score to put behind it. So for that, they turned to Giorgio Moroder, the father of electronic dance music and the master of the synthesizer. Giorgio might be most famous to modern audiences for his work with Daft Punk on their album Random Access Memories. The song Giorgio by Moroder features Giorgio talking about his life, which Daft Punk then set to music. This song really brought Giorgio back to the forefront of pop music culture and really let everyone know how big of a deal this guy was and how much of an influence he has had on all of electronic music since his time. Giorgio was born in Italy. He speaks German, Italian, and the local dialect of Ladino fluently, and when he was 19 years old, left his hometown in Italy to start a career as a musician. He eventually landed in Munich, Germany, founding Musicland Studios, one of the most famous recording studios in all of Germany. Acts such as the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Queen, and many, many other British rock bands recorded big albums there because they were trying to avoid UK taxes. So it was a huge studio, and Giorgio was the founder of it. But Giorgio's career really took off in earnest when he and his co-producer Pete Bellotti met Donna Summer. Donna Summer was living in Munich at the time, working as a background singer, and she did some BVs for Giorgio and Pete on a couple records they were working on. They got on really well and developed this great creative partnership, and the three of them penned some huge hits, starting with Love to Love You Baby in 1975 and I Feel Love in 1977. The latter was, save Donna's vocals, created entirely on Giorgio's Moog synthesizer. The drums, the strings, the bass, everything you hear except Donna's vocal on that record was made on a Moog. And it really ushered in a new era of music production, one that focuses more heavily on the synthesizer as opposed to musicians playing instruments. Now you can debate the merits or drawbacks of this, but you really can point back to this one song as the beginning of it all. Fast forward to 1982 and Giorgio has moved to Hollywood. He's coming off his first hit in what will be a very fruitful career scoring movies. It was for 1980's American Gigolo, and it was the first time that Giorgio's brand of deep droning synths and pulsing bass lines was brought to the silver screen. It was a smash hit. You obviously see it all over the place now. Think about the score for Drive, or Hans Zimmer's Dark Knight scores, or even the score for Stranger Things. All of these have those brooding 80s sounding synths, and they're all really a big homage to Giorgio. But the one thing that Giorgio does not do is write lyrics. So when it came time to write the theme song for Cat People, they turned to none other than the star child himself, David Bowie. I read that Giorgio and Paul Schrader, the director, flew to Switzerland to assist Bowie while he was recording the vocals. Apparently they got there, Bowie knocked him out in 2 takes and said, "All right, time to go." Paul Schrader could not believe this for his life because he often did 10 or more takes per scene when filming a movie. He just could not believe that Bowie could get a finished product in just 2 takes. But of course he did, and it's what you hear on the record, and it's amazing. The lyrics that he wrote for this song are really, really primal, and they have so much imagery, and they really like set up that feeling of a jungle cat on the prowl, and they're a bit sexual too, because everything Bowie does is a bit sexual, and he's singing in this really, really deep baritone, like deep even by Bowie standards, and it sounds just very epic and very sexy and very brooding, and it all works with Giorgio's synth drones and these weird synthesized bongo sounds that are playing, and all of this creepy kind of stuff that Giorgio is building to let Bowie's amazing vocals sit on top of. And it's really 2 masters of their craft just going at it. You know, Giorgio really is the master of the synthesizer. One of the reasons I think his music is so good is that he was able to play the synthesizer like an instrument. He imbued it with this musicality that not many producers are able to do. And furthermore, he coupled that with amazing session players. He always used ace session players on his songs, and that upped the musicality tenfold every time. For example, in this song, we have Michael Landau on guitar, Leland Sklar on bass, and Keith Forsey on drums, as well as obviously David Bowie on lead vocals. And those first three are absolutely amazing session players. They have hundreds, if not thousands, of hit records under their collective belts. And even though they're not playing anything super complicated in this song, they're still doing it to perfection in such a tasteful way that it just all comes together and gels so perfectly and makes this epic feeling song. If you need any further proof that there was a special combination of musicians playing on the original Cat People, look no further than the absolutely terrible version that David Bowie did for his album Let's Dance. It features Nile Rodgers and a then unknown Stevie Ray Vaughan on rhythm and lead guitar respectively, and it is a hot mess. The guitars are everywhere. There's so much going on. The lead parts that Stevie Ray is playing just don't make any sense in the song. They feel so out of context. And Bowie's vocal performance is substandard at best. Now, it should be said that this version of the song only came about because of a record label dispute. Giorgio's label MCA owned the masters to the original Cat People song, and they would not license it to Bowie's label EMI for the album Let's Dance. EMI and Bowie still wanted the song on Let's Dance, so they were forced to cut this cover version, essentially. And to me, it sounds like Bowie's just phoning it in. I think he was annoyed by this whole thing, and I think he's just phoning it in. It just sounds lame. It just doesn't sound very good. He doesn't have the energy, he doesn't have the passion of the original, and it just sounds very flat. And it kind of just, it doesn't do it for me. But the one thing that does carry over are the lyrics. And the lyrics are still amazing in both versions. And the lyrics are really at the crux of why this song was able to be in this weird 1982 horror film and then also translate so beautifully to Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds. Thanks for watching this excerpt from Scenes and Songs. For full episodes, check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or wherever podcasts are sold.